This time on Woody's Garage we tried to fix those crappy wheels again.
So I just got in a sprocket that I ordered on eBay, and I'm guessing will do the trick. It's number 41 chain, 52 teeth, new old stock. I'm hoping that bolt pattern's right. By the guy's measurements, they sound like they are. This is 1 3/8 for the bearing. So I'm not quite sure I'm going to set that up, but let's take off the wheel and have a look. Well, the good news here is that the bolt holes line up perfect. The bad news is that it isn't really 1 3/8 in the middle. So it's not going over that bearing, which I was kind of hoping it would do. Okay, something's off here because that does say it measures 1 3/8. So then what is that bearing? I mean, that was measured 1 3/8 as well, or was supposed to. So I guess I wasn't thinking about the flange, which is on that one and not on this one, because this is an old bearing and it looks like it would fit no problem. Okay, another thing I was thinking of was clearance, and obviously there's plenty of clearance. Now it's sitting on the bearing there, so it could sit on the axle and you could put spacers in between the mounting plate and the sprocket and mount it up that way. That's not a problem. I got plenty to work with on the jack shaft up there. That's not a problem. But one of the things, which is my next step, is to try to figure out the gear ratio, which I don't know how to do at all. These 10-inch wheels, I guess I got to measure them top to bottom. But we got a 52 tooth, 41 chain. We got, for a clutch, at least right now, we got a 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 tooth sprocket, 41 chain, and a jack shaft. So I'm looking for a good, medium range, putt around, not overpowered, not over top end, very middle of the road setup for this. Wondering what 2 sprockets I can go with on this. Another thing that I saw a thread on old mini bikes about these Rupps with their slanted engine mounts, that on these bikes, I guess in 1970, these things had a diaphragm carburetor on them, and I think the reason was because of the angle, the angle of the carburetor. I've had this engine running on this thing, and it sounded pretty healthy, but will it work just the way it is? Some people say that there's I guess a manifold that's made for carburetors with a bowl on it. But if you have the diaphragm carb, which seem unattainable, you can, that would be the desired one to run. So, I'm thinking about, can I make like a manifold piece that kind of is, tips the bowl more at a flat angle, or what? So that's something else I have to consider. So anyone want to chime in on this Jeep 2003 gear ratio thing, it would be appreciated. Let me get a stick on that back wheel. Okay, back wheel height measured is about 16 inches to 16 and a half inches or so. This humid weather and thunderstorms, these mushrooms have been popping up everywhere, all sorts of varieties. Look at this one. Looks like a psychedelic mushroom. Okay, I got some bolts in the sprocket with a bearing stuck in it. The bearing flange is facing inwards. Now this is just kind of a mock-up. I know I'm going to kind of need spacers or something to support those bolts there. If in fact this is the way I should go, or get rid of the bearing and have it flush. I'm kind of positive on that, but it looks good. I kind of had to force those bolts, and I think the thread pitch was different. I couldn't figure out what it was, so I just kind of used the bolts like they were a tap and backed them in, backed them out, and I think they'll be fine. I think I'll probably put a locking nut on the back Right now, looking down the sprocket, it looks like the sprocket on the jack shaft would have to be in pretty tight to the jack shaft. So I'm wondering if the sprocket should come out some, the rear sprocket. Well, this is tire number 3 that I have for the Rupp, and I wasn't going to use it, but I'm thinking right now, let's see how this one breaks down, for the reason that maybe I can take a couple of spokes and put them into the other better wheels that I have. It's like a lot of work, but if this one breaks down pretty easy, that means the tire comes off easy, then I'll probably put the spokes in the other wheels. Alright, we got a little soapy water here. Get out our tire spoons and see what happens. Yeah. That's just a big nail sticking in a vise in the center there. Gee, thought it was coming. Yeah, there we go. It's really not too bad. Except for, of course, I need a third one. There we go. Okay. Now this was the one, if you watch the other video, it had a really weird inner tube in it, like it wouldn't take any air. And there was nothing blocking the way. It's just bizarre. Let's see if we can get the tube out of here. I've got to kind of break the bead on the other side. Not too bad. Let's see. Look at the tube has air in it, yet I don't even think there's a valve stem in it. Tell me that's not weird. Well, there's a valve stem in it, but I don't know. That's off. I'm gonna look at the rim. The lighting sucks. That wasn't as bad as I complained about. So maybe we'll do the other ones. So I'm noticing something on this rim. That I'm dropping a lot of stuff. No. That some of the spokes have the head on this side and some on the other side, which seems like it would make more sense, because then I think I pointed out before in one of the other videos that the spokes were kind of rubbing against each other. So did somebody lace it at one point the wrong way? Is this the right way? I would think this would be the right way. You know, every other one going opposite. I think I should compare the wheels and make sure that they're the same to begin with. Now here's the mounted front wheel, and it is just like it. So I guess I'm just thinking about the back wheel. Or let's take a look at the back wheel. So you see what I mean about the rear? It's like all the heads stick out rather than, you know, and that's probably why maybe this is, you know, not sitting right. It should be on the other side. Because the spokes, they rub against each other. Oh, a little scary undertaking here. But you can kind of see like that hole where the one's missing, that like the spoke head should go in there. And on the other side, it doesn't really look like there's an indentation there, does it? You know? This is my Honda SL350 in 1970, and you see that it does that, opposes. By the way, I just bought points and condenser for this thing because I would like to get it running correctly, and I might have to sell it, unfortunately. So perhaps we'll do the front one first. It is missing one spoke, is that it? Or there's one that won't tighten or something. Yeah, the front one has one nipple that won't tighten. That is totally loose. So here we go. Let's take this off, this tire and stuff, and hopefully we won't pinch tubes and screw it all up. This is what I meant about that other tube that came out of the first tire. I pulled out the valve and it still has air in it, but nothing's coming out of the valve. I can stick a nail down there and it goes in there, but still, it's just so strange. So I'm about to get the valve out of this one and we'll break this one down. So I just remember I bought this tire changing tool. I remember, well, I think I was changing tires on my Hadaka, now sold. That I'll show you how this works if I can remember. This tool won't work right on this because that's supposed to go over a spoke and this hub's too small. But it will work to kind of hold the bead up like that. This shouldn't be too hard. This tire feels pretty pliable too. Kind of surprising. The front one, I'll now call this the front. Gave me a little harder of a fight, but we got it off, and look at the bead, looks good, you know. Really glad. Hope I didn't screw up the tube. We're gonna call that rusty one, the third one that I had, it's gonna be the donor. We're gonna call this a donor now. So we'll find out where that loose spoke is after I get some oil on every single one of these mothers, and swap it out. This one also had either that's electrical tape or it's an actual strap. I'm not quite sure which, but kind of looks, let's see. And it's got to be electrical tape, right? Let's see if we can get that off. You got to get that off to get to the spokes. Yeah, indeed, it's electrical tape. Okay, the one I'm working on, you can kind of see me wiggling it there right in the middle. That one looks so different than all the other ones. So it's kind of bogus to begin with. So I still haven't gotten it off. It's a little bit of a pain in the neck, but we'll get it. And then we'll take a look at that compared to another one. Okay, it's out. You can see probably what happened to it is just the end broke off. You know, this flared end here just doesn't have one, so it was doing nothing. Okay, this is a nipple from the donor. Came off really easy. It's the right threads and stuff, so it'll work just fine. So Jeep 2003 kind of said like that's really what you should do. You should break them down, get the tire off, and you could true it up like a lot easier. Now, there's probably other steps I should be doing, like probably pulling everything apart, but you know, truing stuff and you've never done it before is a little scary. But like anything, the more you do it, the more it starts to make sense, you know, until I totally screw something up. But let's do this. I'll get this tightened up and we'll mount it back on the front end so that we can use it kind of like as a truing system and see what we get. And we'll toothbrush on a little marble mystery oil and let it start working at that rust while we put it on the machine and try to true it up. Okay, we're on here. This is what we got. Let's first look at this. And you look at the height. It goes up and down a little bit. Whoop, whoop, whoop. You know, it's hard for my eye to see if there's a bend in the rim and it's not actually the truing of the wheel. But the first thing I want to do is snug up that one new spoke and see what we got. So I'm looking at some of the ends of these spokes, and there you can see, you know, you could put a screwdriver in there to hold the, to turn the spoke. On others, you see a lot of spokes sticking out. Well, not a lot. Let me try to find one. Like that one's about, oh, sorry. That one's a mess. That one's sticking out. That one's, like, where is it? I mean, quality control at the factory, they cut off the spokes at different lengths, or is it this far off, or what the hell's going on here? It's also a lot easier if you can get a screwdriver in these holes to adjust the spark plug wrenches. I mean, the spoke wrench is a pain in the butt. I think we're getting closer. I'm going to just keep dicking with it. Okay, I feel good enough about this to start on number 3, the rear wheel. We'll strip this one down. Tire off, becoming kind of routine as an easier. This one actually does have a strap on it. And let's see if we can find that. Yeah, here's that spoke that blew out. That's where we need one. But now the problem is, and I'd kind of like to get an opinion on this, is if I should redo these spokes to be like the other 2 wheels. I don't think it would be too hard, but is it the right thing to do? Okay, this thing is a bugger to get in either way. I was going to try this one from behind so it would come out like that, you know, the opposite, sorry, like that, but to do that I think I would have to loosen every single spoke. So I think I may stop here and do a video and see if I can get some opinions on what to do. I mean, I'm willing to like totally undo this rim. I hate to say it, but in what do you call it? Rethread it the correct way. It's not thread, it's lace. Relace it the right way. Or I can kind of force that spoke in. Not a big deal. I can rebend it or whatever and just use it the way it is. What do you think? Thanks. I got the 3 tubes inflated to make sure they're going to hold air. I did get air into this last one. I went poking around in there. I took the stem out. I had to go all the way down to the base of it, and there was something like blocking the valve. Maybe it was some old sealer or something. But I punctured a hole through it. I thought I went through the tube, but I didn't. I put the valve back in, and yeah, it's taking air now, so that's good. I got 3 choices in case I pinch one.